Good afternoon. I am joined by LaNysha Adams, one of our board members for the New Mexico Book Association. And I would like to talk to her a little bit about her experience with the association. So I'm going to start with a question with what led you to join us as a member?
Yeah, so when I was I was envisioning moving back to New Mexico. I was in the DC area. This was like 2022 at some point, and I hadn't moved yet. And I started looking for groups of writers, people who are in the publishing industry. And then I did a search and I found the New Mexico Book Association. And the reason why I joined this one, I mean, I joined the New Mexico Writers and then the New Mexico Book Association, but the reason why I specifically joined this one was because I liked the emphasis on how we're focused on not just writing, but the production of the book, right? And so there's a lot that goes into that. And I just was like, wow, that's so cool. I hadn't ever seen an organization that focused on that as a mission.
Well, we're very pleased to have you as a member and also as a board member. One of the things that LaNysha has spearheaded as a board member is a project called the Rewriting Room. And I'd love for you to publicize and talk a lot more about that.
Yeah, so we're meeting on the fourth Friday. I think it's fourth Fridays. I said last Friday of the month, and then people are like, well, in this month it's a different day. So it's generally the fourth or fifth Friday, depending on how the month shakes out. And what we do in that space is I spend a lot of time researching, talking to people, more talking about writing than actually writing. Excuse me. I think some of that is good because it helps us process. But the problem we're trying to solve with this rewriting room is like, okay, well, what are you dedicating at least 50 minutes of your time to actually go through the process, the active process of writing? And so we meet, first 10 minutes are just kind of intro and like getting set up, then write for 50 minutes, and then we recap for 10. So it's a 75-minute experience that is just focused on the writing. And I really want people to come to this with projects. Maybe you just journal. I mean, I came with projects. I think I've only done it 2 times this year. But the first time I came with all these projects, and then I found myself needing to journal and like handwrite and just process kind of what I was feeling, which is important, right? It's the script, the stories we're telling ourselves, right? The script that's running in the background. Are we cognizant of it? Do we take action from that place? If it's out of awareness, how, what does that do for us? And so this is really like a time to reconnect with self and accomplish the projects or focus on some other aspect of writing for yourself.
And where is it located?
Yeah, it's located at the community college, so it's a hybrid experience. So some people actually called on Zoom. We had folks from the East Coast, we had some folks from California on the last one, and then yeah, you come to the community college. It's in the west wing of campus and in Santa Fe. And if you're not in the area, then you can join online and have a sign up link and all of that for folks to join us.
And where do people sign up if they're interested?
Yeah, so they go to I think in our newsletter we have a link, but there's a Luma, lu.ma slash, a Luma link. And so we'll put that, I think, in the YouTube. So folks, if they're watching this, they can click the link and go and RSVP.
And they can also sign up on the New Mexico Book Association website as well.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, there's a link there. Yep,
Exactly.
that's easy.
So one of the things you talked about when you were describing the book, the rewriting room, is you had so many projects. How did you come to the project Me Power and that book during COVID?
Oh man. So I was doing a lot of consulting and coaching through a practice that I created called Ed Linguist Solutions. And it was I had mainly government clients and university clients, a lot of research projects and so on and so forth. And because I was so focused on problem solving for clients, as a business owner, a small business owner, I didn't have like a book or anything focused on my personal brand and also related to thought leadership, right? I'm trained as an academic, so I have a PhD, studied applied linguistics. So I'm very accustomed to like research and writing and speaking, but not for business purposes. So I decided to write Me Power during the pandemic because even though I had a baby in June 2020 and I had a toddler 2 years before that, I thought I would be bored. I don't know why I thought that, but clearly I'm too ambitious in some ways. So I started writing this book with to answer the question, what is empowerment? What is this idea? And then how do people manifest it? And I really wanted to kind of give a linguistic overview of how people get the word wrong because I was very bothered. You know, Empower is a transitive verb, so it puts people in a passive state. So I was always thinking like, well, if you're waiting to be empowered, if you're hoping to empower someone, who's doing the power? Where is the power coming from? And if the power comes from inside, then how can you empower somebody? You can't. Like in my argument, I say like you cannot. It's really you create the conditions, you create context for where people can activate, you can encourage someone else to activate their me power, and then you can activate your own. And it's really, metaphorically putting your mask on first so that you can be a better human in the world for yourself and for others. And that's kind of like where the idea came from and why I decided to work on the project.
And what do you think is the most beneficial aspect of it for writers, like a lot of our members? What would be most beneficial about taking that approach?
Yeah, I think this idea of like, it's kind of like I think we focus so much on what we're trying to accomplish, which is important. Like so much of our life is like this, right? Like I have to meet this deadline by September, whatever date.
Mhm.
Someone's writing a book and they have a deadline coming up. And you're kind of riding yourself to get to there. But that I guess ascent to the goal is us. Like, what are we about? What do we really enjoy? Are we getting enough rest? Are we really, how are we as people and who are we being in that moment? And I think it's important to write, to give voice through writing, some of those feelings, some of those thoughts, because very rarely do we take time to actually do that. And so I feel very, very strongly like you really have to check in with yourself even as you're progressing towards your goals. Eventually you'll meet them. No question there. But I think the real question that I'm kind of like making a case for or highlighting, bringing to the forefront is, are you well taken care of on your ascent to the goal? And then how do you know? Where do you check in? Where's your proof? Where are the receipts? Right. And so I think that's important for people to do, all of us to do as people. And for us as writers is so, so key because our psychology, our well-being is informing our work so much. I mean, that's just going to show up on the page. Like we can't get away from ourselves. We can't get outside of ourselves.
Mhm. One of the benefits I've had by reading the book is, as a writer, is I'm on a book deadline, as you know, and it's about autoimmune diseases for equestrian, right, women equestrians, and also the relationship with adverse childhood trauma. And one of the aspects I find helpful when when you're talking about empower or me power is that I want, as one of the goals for my book, is to be a warrior for empathy, for people who are patients, people who are writers, people who are researchers, people who are clinicians,
Mm,
because I think there's a lot less empathy in our culture. And one of the things I'm taking is how am I being empathetic? How am I being driven by this goal? And how is that informing my writing? And so that's what I'm taking away from it. And what you said about empowering people, because that was big language when I was in college, empowering people and being empowered and everything is huge language. Um, and what I see is this book potentially can put the power in their hands and they can empower themselves.
yes.
And that's based on empathy. And so that's from my experience reading the book and how
Mm.
it relates to my writing.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's just the way I'm thinking about it. What do you think you've either learned the most or benefited most by being a board member of the New Mexico Book Association?
Yeah, I think I've I've benefited the most by being able to meet members in ways that are like so cool because I have to intersect with them at the gala or at our events or even via email. Or at Garcia Street Books, right? When we do those meet the author featuring the authors and then get to sell their books there. I've been so enriched by meeting all these different kinds of authors, like people who write fiction and poetry and memoir. And um, I just, I don't normally, I wouldn't have that in my catalog of things to read,
Mhm.
but I have been. And so it's been really nice to
Mhm.
be able to be like a fan of someone that you're reading their work and you're like, oh, I
Exactly.
love their
I know,
book.
exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
it's so cool to
It is
like
very cool. And I mean, we
have
have a
that.
lot of writers who write Westerns. I mean, when
Yes,
was I just never read Westerns, but it's like now I do, because
it's so fun.
it
It's
is
so fun
interesting.
to like have like an exposure because I think we're, over time as readers, we're accustomed to what we enjoy and like, and then,
Mhm.
we're limited on time. So, but it's so beautiful to be exposed to different kinds of writings from our membership. And then I also really love meeting some of the book designers that are members, and then also publishing companies. Like there's some marketing folks, and even having very simple conversations has been like so helpful in terms of thinking about how you market, how you do this. And
Mhm.
as a board member, in addition to like that for me personally and like how I've been enriched, I think it's been helpful to, it's been really meaningful for me to,
Bless
excuse
you.
me, sneeze, but also for me to be able to share like ideas in a community of other professionals, right,
Mhm.
across the publishing industry. And I get newer, every time I engage with other members, I get other ideas for things that I might want to do. Maybe I'm biting off more than I can chew and maybe want to hold back, or I read something somewhere else and I think it would benefit another member. So that's been really great. And I think our community is so responsive and so tight knit, and it's robust. Like we have people who, one of my favorite members, she is in Tucson and she's a member of our association. She does writing retreats. She's an editor. I'm going to that retreat, and it's called The Right to Heal. And like that's so cool. Like I
Mhm.
wouldn't have met that person or known about them really if I didn't see them in the directory or meet them in one of our breakout sessions or in the virtual
Mhm.
monthly meetups or every other monthly meetup. And so that's been really amazing, like to have such a strong, robust network of folks.
Thank you. And we're getting bigger. We're getting bigger every month. We added 7 new members this month, and that's been powerful. And we want to really expand through the state of New Mexico and into the full Southwest, like Arizona and Utah and Texas and everybody else in the Southwest region. What are your next writing projects?
Yeah, so I've been working on an article for a publication for a minute, and it's really analyzing like different wellness apps and how wellness apps and also processes that we take for granted, like meditation, for example. But there's a lot of research to show that it can really change your biometrics, like lower your blood pressure. And then there's like actual studies to show that, which is amazing. Like it can be equivalent to a low dose of taking a blood pressure medication. That's like
That's
insane.
huge.
So I want to talk about that more, write about that. And then I'm also working on a book proposal for my second book, building on me power, but I've been working on that for a year and a half, and I really got to make a choice about what I'm doing there.
Well, it
Very
is. There is that. I mean, I worked on my book proposal for a year and it was rejected because it was too narrow a focus. And I knew the editor. I said, fine, I'll just rewrite it. So I rewrote it. Spent another 8 months writing it. So it's kind of a commitment. Book proposals are a huge commitment.
It is.
Um,
They are, and like, choose your own adventure, right? Like, what
yes.
path are you gonna go for? And I think, in addition to the writing projects, like for the all the kind of writing I do all the time, the marketing, I really love that. Like, especially on LinkedIn, I like that kind of writing, the quick hit version of like, here's my idea. how are people responding, and then writing in the newsletter, things like that. But I've been really focused on, like, how do I convince people to buy the book in bulk? How do I convince people to take action in
Exactly.
ways that are monetized and beneficial? And
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time thinking about that, and I'm keep inching towards my goals, but it is fun. It's like,
Well, it's interesting that you raised that because I'm actually going to lean back for a minute and publicize our October newsletter, which is with, do you have it to hand? The person
uh, I
for,
know her name, Portia Mystique Steele,
yes,
but I
that's
don't
right.
remember the name of the workshop offhand. But it's in
Um,
October 7th.
October 7th, and
Don't know
it's
the
about
time.
monetizing your work.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
look for that on the New Mexico Book Association website.
yeah, there's a lot to say and learn about that. So sign up
Exactly.
for that workshop. I think I'll
Exactly.
be there at that workshop too, because
So
I don't know
so
what
will
she's
I.
gonna say, but I know it's gonna be
Yeah,
good.
exactly. Well, thank you so much, LaNysha, for joining us today, and we look forward to your next article in your next book.
Thank you for having me.